Okay, I think we will start. I say to everyone, hello and welcome to our webinar for the Automic System Healthcheck, provided from the Tricise Professional Services. So my name is Jens Pilz. I will give you today an overview and a little bit insight what we are doing with an Automic System Healthcheck. So this is a part of an service what will be deployed by Tricise. And yeah, in the next 45-50 minutes, I will show you some insight about this health check for what it is, what we're doing in this health check. In the end of this session, you have the option to get questions and so on. So afterwards, after my presentation here, I will give you, or we have the time for questions or something else. Short background, my name is Jens Pilz. I'm working as as senior consultant for the Tricise. Meanwhile, I'm with Automic like the last 20 years, and I also deploy health checks on customer sites. So I know also everything about the health check, not in theory. I'm also one of these guys who will deploy this health checks directly to the customers. So before we start, with the health check topic, I will give you a short overview. Not all knows everything about Tricise. What is Tricise delivering to customers? We are from Tricise, a partner from Broadcom to deliver licenses and also services. And for this, I will give you I think the voice was go down. I think you can hear me now again. So I think the audio will be back. So can everybody hear me? Yeah, okay, perfect. Okay, so again, we are delivering from Tricise side, also support, first level support, also with guys which are in the support like for 10, 15, 20 years, 4 months also directly with Automic. So there we have the knowledge of the old guys and some new guys, which I have learned in this first level support. So when you use first level support from us, you have nothing more to do with the Broadcom support. So everything what is needed from Broadcom, like from the development or second level or something else, will be done by our support team. And your main contact is only our support team. So this is a part what we are delivering. Also, we have the Automic SaaS solution, which is delivered by Broadcom, but where we also use it and deliver it to customers if you want to have a SaaS solution. And also what is now coming up, also a bigger and bigger part is to deliver managed services. Like when you need some administration service, you want not to do your administration by your own, to give it to us, to our specialist, going to job and process monitoring, workflow design, and so on. There are also many options, but for this part, there's coming up also an own webinar. When you're interested in this, have a look for this, and there's also coming up a webinar for the managed services, what you can have inside when you're interested in this. So we will deliver daily operations support. So when you need in your daily operations, like for a half year, for 2 months, for 3 months, some tasks what you want to give to another people because your guy for Automic is not available, or you have not so many guys for the next half year and so on. We can deliver also here some guys to do this. We are one of these companies who deliver public training. So in the moment, we deliver it for the public in Germany. In our Q Skills training center, but we also deliver outside from Germany, also in English, specific customer training, so in-house training. So you can order also outside from Germany every time trainings to us. Also the standard trainings which are available, we will deliver directly in-house or remote, what you want, what you do prefer. So give us a hint what you want to have, and we can deliver it also to you, like every part of the product training. And then we are in this part where we have our webinar, like optimization services. And there we see the first part. What we want to have to look inside today is into the system health check. But we have also another part, so what we deliver at services optimizations, like in the moment, also very popular is the process analysis and optimization, where we look deeper inside in your task, what you execute, which tasks will be executed, how many, and so on. Also many parts. Also for this will upcoming an own webinar where we can have a look inside when you're interested also in this part. In the moment, it's very popular. And also we deliver version upgrades, performance tuning, system copy for SAP, other action packs, and also the 3Cs release manager for the complete transport solution from Automic with a third part over interface where you can set up snapshots and so on from your Automic system. And the last part, also the normal consulting service. So for every part where you need some support or you need some guys with special experience or something, some experts, we have also many consultants available, also consultants which are 10, 15, 20 years with Automic, and yeah, the complete knowledge of this task. So that's also a short overview what we from Tricise will deliver. And now we go to the part for our webinar, like the system health check. So for what we need a system health check. So when you want to have, meanwhile, in every company where Automic is implemented, Automic is one of the most popular system what must be available 24/7. So they have to secure that we have a stable system, that the processes will be stable, running. Most of the customers has very critical business processes running on the Automic system, so that we are safe, that the Automic system is one of the most popular system in the most companies and have to be stable for the running 24/7, 365 days a year. So meanwhile, we don't have many outages, or that we can set up maintenance for Automic or something else. So for this, we have to set, okay, we need a stable Automic system, and to get in future also an Automic stable system, it makes sense to do time by time a system health check of Automic to see what happens in the system. Is the system running fine? Is the system running performant? Is the hardware sizing is correct? Got we out of something? And for this is the reason why we deployed from Tricise like a system health check, that you also can say in the future, okay, my Automic system is up to date, it's running performant, and we can do also more work on this system in the future. So that's the first introduction reason why we deploy, or for what we need a health check. And what is in the health check, why we do this, like also some keywords, system stability, every time needed. I thought about this. Opportunities for improvement. So when you come up like with more sizing on the system, that we have the correct size of system, that the system is prepared for more workload and the architecture is correct for your parts, what you're doing on the Automic system. Conversion resources, also to have a look, have we too much resources for our system here, or can we reduce some costs about the architecture or something else in Automic? We will check or need the performance, like Automic needs every time good performance, that the process is running without some outage or delay. We check for the future. Is the system also prepared for the next step? If we want to do more workload through Automic, we got new parts into Automic. Is my system prepared for this, or got I to an end of the system that we have the end of the resources and to put on more inside? And every time what we have in Automic, every Automic system is different. So every customer have other possibilities on his Automic system. Their requirements are different. They run other jobs. They have another coding inside, other agents, and we have, I think, no standard in Automic. So every customer system is different, so that we cannot say we have one package, we do this start, and 5 minutes later we have the result of our Automic system, because you have different Automic possibilities at every Automic system, so that we have an individual health check at every customer. We have some standards normally, but we have to look at every system in special about this configuration, what happens, and so on. So what is the scope of the analysis? So the analysis will be also done by experts, like also my colleagues and I will do this health check, like with Automic experience, like 10, 15, 20 years, so that we know how is our Automic system working, what happens in the background. And what we will check in this analysis. It's the first overview. We go later a little bit in detail, like some insights about special parts, what we have inside, but for the general, we will check the system architecture, like we look how it was deployed, the Automic system. Is the Automic system running on 1-2 server? Where is the database installed? Web interface, is a separate installed? Is the architecture what we are needing for your special environment, like what you have later we see it, what you have in executions, agents, and so on, that we find or see if your architecture is good for your system, what you are running. So also we will analyze the hardware, like have you enough RAM, have you enough CPU, where it is deployed, is it on a VMware deployed, or is it in an Azure cloud or some other cloud, is it run on premise, that we can also see the correct sizing here for the hardware of the system. Also, important point is the database, so that we will also check the database configuration. So is the configuration correct? Is there something missing, or is there something inside what got in trouble or problems in future, or is there some trouble or problems in the moment? And to see if the processes are working very stable and running fine and smooth. Also the check, and this is most time a combination with the database connection, that also the process is running fine. We will see or check if your system, every part is supported, if you are compatible with everything what we have. Is the OS system compatible? Have we old versions here inside? Sometimes it's coming up, and this is what we have seen all sometimes in last health checks, that there are running some components which nobody knows that they are running, like old call APIs in version 9 running from an old Unix system in the background, and nobody knows that these processes are running. And this is also parts what we find in the health check, like is there out or not supported components inside, and then we get the parts to say, okay, please, for your health of the system, change this to a supported way. Or sometimes it's happens that nobody knows something about this jobs that they're running. So this is also what we are doing. And the complete Automic configuration, like everything what is in Automic, configure the ini files, the system in client 0, the system variables, inside the clients, the system variables. Have we other everything inside what we need and what is in supported or have to be inside. And that says if we do this, we have a current system size and it is future proofed that we are fine. So when we checked the hardware, the architecture, the infrastructure, we also checked, and it's also a big part, the performance. So everybody knows this. Automic needs a smooth performance, that we don't have many delays in our executions. That we have no many delays in the web interface, that we can run the processes performant, but also that the web interface is running performant, that every user who will work with Automic can work on a good way without problems in this moment, and that it's go run and smooth. And therefore we do the performance analysis. So how we do this? We do this like with with data from the historical runnings and the actual runnings. So we analyze every logs. So WP, CP logs, trace files, what we will run. We check also in the web interface the logs of the Tomcat or Jetty launcher. So there we can see, and that we will later see in the inside, some special parts where we can say, okay, we got here a problem, or we got a performance problem in future, or we don't have performance problems, the system is running fine. Also the same we do with the performance in the direction of the database. So that we will see, is there some parts in the week, in the day, where we got bottlenecks into the database, that we have too much connections, the connections needs too much time to the database. On this side, we check also the logs on the database side, the error logs. Can we see something there? What happens? Is there some problems on the database side, or is the problems like from the Automic side? And that we will check also about the performance, while most times the performance in the Automic system has a direct impact to the database performance. And also, again, the web interface, we check the configuration of the web interface. Is everything installed? What we need for the interface? And the last one, what is not here on the slide, but what we also do if you have installed analytics, we will also check the analytics configuration and logs and what is installed with analytics if there are some problems. So, and then we have, after this check, hopefully find nothing too much, but if we find something, we can correct them, give you some parts what you can change or have to change, that you have also in future a stable and performant system. So, and then we go a little bit inside and say, okay, what we are doing directly here in this health check. So every time happens, never change a running system. Most times the Automic system are historic system running like 10, 15 years, at some customers 5 years, but normally when you have like or you're with Automic the last 10, 15 years, you have most times in the system variables, what you have in client 0, many historic data, what you got with you after every update. So, and what we every time find is in some configuration variables parameters which are not available or which are for the new version not longer supported. And here's an example, like in the US host chart, every time we can find the FE version. So this is a parameter for the file event what was for version 12, but you can find it most time in every system, V21, 24, and 12. So we checked every system variable about the configuration inside the file, inside the variable. Is there some errors in the configuration? Is there something inside what can make trouble in the system? Or where comes some trouble up? Is there something missing for an entry? Can also happen that there was something hacked, like a camera or something else. We do this with the variables and also the ini files. Like when we look to the Automic installation, we also have a look into the UCSFO ini file to check the parameters there inside. Is everything set up correct? Also with what often happens that old ini files were used for new versions, and then we got also sometimes a little bit trouble that there are some parameters inside which are not longer available, and then it can come a little bit in trouble with, or when you're starting some processes or something else. So this is one of the checks what we are doing here. Then we have a check to the infrastructure, to the sizing of the infrastructure. So, and this is also what every time happens. Every customer have his own individual Automic system. Also what I mean in the beginning, we don't have a standard Automic system. So everything is individual about the agents, the runs, and what's coming up. So, and this makes sometimes a problem to say, okay, how is the correct size of the infrastructure of my system? So, and this is a challenge to find this out. So in the Broadcom documentation, you can find some sizing, general sizing informations, but most times when we have a look at this sizings information, this is nothing what we find like in the world or in practice. So when we see, for example, here a small configuration is occurred from Broadcom to 100 users, 2,000 agents, 1,000 object definitions, and 1 million executions per day. So in this combination, I have never find a customer with this combination. So in the practice, it looks like different, that we have 30 users, 100 agents, and 80,000 objects, and like 200,000 executions per day. So, and on this configuration of your system, we will check the best infrastructure sizing means how many RAM we need on the Automic server, on the web server, or the web interface, how many CPUs we have to done, file system, what we have to use, and so on. And this we can do like in the health check, where we see and now what you have implemented, how many executions you have, and so on. And then we can directly say, okay, we need more RAM, we need more CPU. We see it also later when we make the analysis of the logs and so on. Then we can very good see if the infrastructure is enough, or also the other thing, have we too much inside so that we have many RAM, but we don't need this. Then we can also say, okay, you can reduce costs and so on. That we also check the other part if we have too much resources on the infrastructure. So, and that means we have an individual health check also here at the infrastructure, because every system is different on the customer side, and we have no standard. And this is made to say, okay, we have to look individual to every system to find the correct requirements and the correct infrastructure sizing. And every time the same, if you have a good checked infrastructure, this is one of the key to success. The same what we are doing with the infrastructure, like that we see, okay, how many RAM, CPUs we need, is to check the sizing of the processes. So we have in the system our processes like the JVPs, CPs, VPs, JCPs, but how many of this I need? So I can find also in the documentation something of the standard sizing, but that has nothing to do with my real life, with my executions. So how know I how many processes I need? Need I 10, need I 50, need I 20 or something else? And this is what we also check, is the workload of the processes. Have they too much workload, or have we like too much processes because we had not so much workload? Also different ways we have to check. And this needs to help to see that we have a good performant sizing of the processes. So it's also, if we have many processes and they have nothing to work, this make more in slower performance than like a higher performance. So every process what has nothing to do needs database connections for nothing and so on. So that's also an important point to see that the processes will run performant and stable. So also, we review the resource utilization in the processes that we are on the right. So we can see in the processes in our analyze how many workload have this process, like the work processes. And if we see that the work processes 24 hours have 80% of server usage, then we can see we have to bring more processes inside. If we see the same, every work process has nothing to do, and we have 20 work processes and they have all like in server usage from 0.2%, then we can say, okay, we can slow down with the processes to give also to the infrastructure some resources back, because also here every process what is running needs resources on the server. So meanwhile, we know it and see it in the newest version, everything is running with Java, and Java needs every time resources on a system. So also we make analysis for the work processes and the utilization, that we have also the optimum number of processes. So, and that we don't waste resources. So optimum processes, utilization and resource conservation, every time the same. So that's the first two parts, what we are doing to say, okay, infrastructure, we are looking to the size of the processes. And then what we have seen at first, in the first slides, what we are doing is a performance analysis. So is our Automic system is performant? So, and this is a cornerstone for Automic system, that we have a stable performance. So that is the base of the function of our Automic system. Without a stable performance, we got delays in the executions, we got delays in the business processes, and this is what we don't want to have, and what also not often happens, but we have to check this system is running very performance. And every time when we got, or the goal and the objective is to say, if we got performance problems, we will save them with a health check. If we have in this moment no performance problem, we will look for the future that we also have not in the future performance problems. So this is what also can happen, that we have in the moment, we don't see some performance problems, but we can see on some configurations and log entries, if we are running again and again, we will have in the next 2-3 months some performance problems will coming up. So it's also a check for the future, not what is in the moment. If we have in the moment no problems, we can check also for the future, or we do this for the future, that we got in future also no performance problems with the system. So, and for this performance analyze, like first check every time, important part is the Automic reorganization that we have here. In the Automic reorganization, in this process, we will check if this process is running correct. So if the database is cleaned up correctly. So we can see here in this lines that we have every time some views about the database rows and also to the index. So also depends to your database vendor. If you have MS SQL, Oracle, Postgre, depends a little bit. We look or have our scripts for every database vendor to check this, that we have in every time and cleaned up database. So this is the first part where can coming up performance problems if we don't have a clean database, and the database and some tables goes bigger and bigger. Then it comes up after half a year that we got in trouble, like a little bit with performance problems. So this is the part what we are checking here now. Then we check about this, and this is a part what comes up step by step and depends to the other steps, that we check the activations. So how is the workload of the system? So have I an workload what is from the activations here, like that we have day by day the same executions, or we have like on weekdays more executions and we have on the weekends not so much, or we have some peaks and special time frames, like we are starting at 6 o'clock or a batch night, then we have more executions like than the rest of the other part of the day, so that we can see where is the workload, how is it deployed, and have we some peaks where coming up problems. Most times when we have peaks, so we need more power on the system in these moments, and to find here also the correct reason, we make here a part to analyze monthly, weekly, daily, hourly to see the executions and the activations. And then we have a part what is not in standard for all admins available, or they know it. So every action what happens in Automic, there are running in the background many of server routines. So, and these server routines do the work, and normally need this server routines like milliseconds or something else. But sometimes it happens that the server routines needs more than a second or a longer time. and then this part will be deployed or written into the log file. And then we can see that at this time, something happens in the system. Like when we look to the example, there's a routine, the UCGenX. This is the routine when I running jobs with many Automic script inside. So, and many Automic scripts needs generation time. And this is a UCGenX generation time for Automic script. And there we can see, for example, this is from a productive system that we got on this day, like a problem, and we got not more than 20 or 30 of this server routines what needs longer than a second. We have on this day 4,000 of this part. And this is a hint for us to see, okay, something in the system happens or had happened at this day in this parts, what got a little bit trouble in the system. So, and this is what we check if they're coming server routines, what need a longer time in the system. And then we can find out where it comes up. Is there some processes in the background which are, or from which this is coming up? And one point of this server routines are not documented. So you can't find something about this in the Automic documentation. So this, I told it special knowledge in the background to know which server routine is doing parts and which effort have this server routine to other processes or to other combinations. Like when we look to the next part, it's most time a combination. If I get here some problems with the generation of server routines, I get also some problems, or I can see it for the database calls, like to the connection to the database. We have also the same when we call the database. The routines for this normally needs also milliseconds. Everything what is going longer than here at 2 seconds will be also written into the log. Normally, you have every time in your log to see that you need more than 2 seconds. You have 20, 30 of this per day. This is normal. But if you see, okay, we have more of this. So then we got here in trouble, and we can see it here. We have seen in the slide before. We have on this day's problem with a Gen X generation, and also we see, okay, there's coming up a statement select for update in this moment. So that we need more time to write into the database like normal is. So on there we can find some parts where we got problems in the system for the performance and can see, okay, what happens here. Is there some jobs in the background which have many scripted, which needs many generation time, and they catch me the complete performance of the system? And we can see a trend, like when we look also to historic data, is there coming up a trend that it goes more and more of these calls, or we have only special situation on this day, which is this coming up? So that we have an analyze and we'll be safe that we have a performance to the database and also for the server routines. So also inside what we are doing when we have also checked the Automic system, we will check the database. So what we have seen also in the reorganization tab, we will look what for tables or what's the size of the tables. Like, is the size correct for the tables? We can see here, normally what we have here inside, the RT table is the most biggest table. Every time in every Automic system, the reports needs the most part inside the database. But we will check also, is there some table inside which is too big, which have too many rows inside and can be done a little bit in trouble or problems. For example, here we have here the LASLM table. This is a table for the service level objectives, the SLO object. So on the SLO object writes into the monitoring his own statistic, like when you use it in the services, you have the service part in your process monitoring, and this table will not got to a reorganization. So if you use like for 2-3 years the LASLM table and you use many of SLO objects, you will see that the LASLM table will bigger and bigger and bigger, and there's no reorganization on this table. So, and this we check also for other tables. Is here some tables available which go bigger, what is not normal? Like that there's a wrong process, why, or if the reorganization is not running correct. So, and then we check this with the number of rows and tables to be safe. Is there everything fine, or we got problems? We check also some more parameters on the database side. We check the log files, the error log files on database side to see if everything is fine, or got we some trouble with some special parts or with a configuration. So this is part performance analyze, database analyze, but also a part is to analyze the objects inside Automic. So when we go out from client 0 and look into the productive clients and the working clients, 10, 20, depends how many do you have, we will check also the objects. And with some objects, we can also get in trouble with performance or something else. Like, for example, we check the variables, like when we have static variables and there we have hundreds of thousand entries inside, and we will open or save this and read it out, we can get in performance problems. This is what sometimes happens, that you got a variable and no one, or every job right into this variable, but you have no job who will clean this up, this variable. So of course, nobody knows about this, and this is where we're looking for. Have we variables with many entries, and then to check, okay, which processes write into this variables, and we need to clean up. The same is for calendar objects. Like when you have calendar objects with thousands of entries, you got also sometimes a performance problem where every time if you save this calendar object, he will recalculate every entry. So, and that you can see then in the performance of the system that a work process will goes to 100% when he recalculate this calendar. And also that can be a little bit in trouble, that we say, okay, like 200-300 entries, 500 entries in a calendar is no problem. But if we have a calendar with 20,000 entries inside, we can get in trouble. And that it makes sense to set up in future like more calendar objects and bring it not in one, for example. So the same what we're looking for is the job stability. Like if is there some processes which breaks or canceling every time? Like we have seen in the last 7 days, we have 100,000 of canceling of the same jobs. Sometimes it happens, you can't see it in the monitoring because the job has the entry deactivate directly. So, and then it happens that you have every time jobs who goes through an error, but nobody knows about this. And this is also what we are checking in the object analyze. And also the agents, we have a look to the agents, if the agents are compatibility with a new version. Have we everything what is supported on agent, or have we old agents, or have we old OS systems where we have to run old agents? That can be with new versions get a little bit in trouble and get to problems, and that you have also the hind for the future. And when you update the system, that you have there a task to update some old agents. So, and what we also check is the web interface. like in this part, two types, the Tomcat or Jetty. So what is in use, we will check this, and we look to the logs, we look to the configuration, we will see, got we some problems in the connection. We will see how it was deployed, the web interface. Have we two web interface server? Is there a load balancer running? So sometimes it can happen that we got problems or performance problems and something else was coming up from the load balancer and not directly from the web interface. So also there are different ways. And for this, we have a look to the logs from the web server and also to the configuration of this. So these are the parts, what we are doing inside in a health check, one of these parts. So there are many, many more checks what we are doing inside. And to do this, we need some time. Like we, during of this that we have for a health check 5 days available for consultant who will do the health check. So normally, meanwhile, most time we do this health check remote. But also, we see it later, we can do it also on-site if you want. But in standard, we need it remote, and then we need a half day with some of the administrators to check the system, to collect all data or log files which we needed. And then we will go to our analyze, and in the end of the 5 days, we go to a result. Therefore, you got a sheet like with 60, 70, 80 sites where everything is described, every problems, what we find, every options, everything what you have to do or you can do to get a performance better if we find something, and also some charts whereas in this document. To get this full access to the Automic system means when we have this half day of data collection, we need some of the administrator who have access to everything from Automic that we can check it and collect out the data which we need. Also, most time it's important that we have some database guys available where we have also to check the database parts. And every time in this 5 days can happen if we find something in the health check after 2 days, I find like some statements, then I can contact the admin that we got a deeper look in special parts. So this is also make why the health check is individual, where we every time find different parameters and different situation, what is not at every system standard. And then we got deeper or have a deeper look in this part if we find something about this. And also we send out SQL statements to the database, what will be deployed by the administrator or by the database guys. This SQL only use select commands, so we don't need do something like update of the system or something else. We only collect with select statements some information from the database configuration and inside from the Automic configuration that we have this for our analyzers available. And the results, you will get a detailed analyze sheet. We go together to this sheet on the last day, like also for 2-3 hours, we go to every point together on this sheet and we'll see the result and find what way we can fix this, or is there some other reason why it is so deployed or something else. So we do also the result together in the end of the health check. So, and then I come to the last slide, and every time also an important point, what cost an health check? So an health check is a standard service package and have a fixed price of 8,000 euros. So this means in this €5,000. We have 5 days available for the health check, and it's only for one Automic system. So one health check, one Automic system, but everything what is inside in the Automic system, web interface, analytics, database for the system, we analyze everything, but only one Automic system. If you want to have health checks also for your QA system or test system, we need some more package. Yeah, and if you need, that's also a point. Meanwhile, I like the last years, most time we do this health check remote. If it's not possible for you to do this remote, sometimes it happens that you have some directions about this. We can also do this on-site, but then we come up from this fixed price. The travel cost goes also will be priced for this, so that we have 8,000 plus the travel costs. Okay, this was the last part, the summary. I think hopefully you got now a little bit part for what a health check is needed, and it makes sense for every system, like for every productive system, to do this time by time, that you are safe also for the future, that you got not in problems, in trouble or something else with your system. And so for this is make every time sense to make an health check. Questions. So now I'm on the end on my slides. Now it's your turn if you need or if you have some questions. Okay, then countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2. Yeah, there it's coming up. Yeah. No, the FT version value 1 was only an example, but make no problem for the system. This is one of the parameter. When it is inside, it's no problem. Was only for example, what we are looking for this.